It started on a quiet Thursday morning, the kind where the hum of the city feels distant, where people move through their routines unaware of the invisible wires connecting the world. Somewhere, in a small, dimly lit apartment, a young programmer named Elias sat alone, his laptop screen glowing in the darkness. He wasn't a criminal. He wasn't even trying to make a mark on history. He was curious. Curiosity, as it often does, can be dangerous. Elias had stumbled upon a vulnerability while tinkering with a secure government portal. It was the kind of flaw that would keep seasoned cybersecurity experts awake at night, the kind that could let someone peer into the most confidential corners of a nation. And yet for Elias, it was a puzzle, a challenge to solve. He thought he was exploring a theoretical problem, testing limits, learning. He never imagined he was holding the key to something much larger. The accident happened almost without him realizing it. One line of code, a single misstep, and suddenly what had been private was public. Files containing diplomatic communications, intelligence reports, even military plans were copied and exposed, floating out into the chaotic expanse of the internet. Not because Elias wanted to betray anyone, not because he sought fame or fortune, but because curiosity untempered has a way of spiraling into consequences that feel impossible to control. When the first alerts came, the response was immediate, but slow. Governments are designed to move carefully, deliberately. Security experts scrambled, intelligence agencies convened, and in offices with lights burning late into the night, the implications were assessed. Somewhere in the chaos, they traced the leak back to a single IP address, and eventually to Elias, sitting quietly, watching the storm he had unknowingly unleashed. What happened next wasn't a story about punishment. It was a story about people, about how one individual's mistake can ripple outward, touching lives in unexpected ways. Because while the documents themselves were abstract, the fallout was deeply human. Diplomats had to answer uncomfortable questions. International relations teetered on the edge of crisis. Ordinary citizens whose private information had been swept into the leak were suddenly vulnerable in ways they couldn't have imagined. Elias became the focus of global attention, and he became afraid, not just for himself, but for what his actions might mean for the people around him. He hadn't intended harm. He had simply misjudged the fragility of the digital world. And yet he was not alone in this story. Experts say that mistakes like his are inevitable in the modern age, that the complexity of our systems often exceeds the capacity of any single human to navigate safely. We are building societies on digital foundations we barely understand, said one cybersecurity analyst. And when someone like Elias slips, the consequences can feel catastrophic. But there is another side to this story, one that's quieter, subtler, and far more reflective. For Elias, the experience was transformative. He became a reluctant symbol of the tension between human curiosity and institutional power. Interviews with him later reveal a young man grappling with guilt, responsibility, and the surreal weight of unintended influence. "I never wanted to hurt anyone," he said softly. "I just wanted to understand." The leak also sparked broader conversations. Governments revised policies, corporations overhauled security, and the public began to see the invisible frameworks that shaped their lives. In some strange, indirect way, Elias's mistake forced the world to confront vulnerabilities it had long ignored. There's a strange poetry in that. A single human acting out of curiosity can expose truths that decades of policy and protocol cannot hide. And yet, there is a cautionary shadow over this story. The same curiosity that leads to discovery can also lead to destruction. The line between hero and villain is often thinner than we imagine. One man's accidental leak becomes another nation's scandal. Another diplomat's nightmare, another citizen's fear. The ripple continues far beyond the apartment where it all began, and far beyond the intentions of the young programmer who never meant to change the course of history. Even today, the files remain archived in ways no ordinary person can access. Experts argue over the ethics of disclosure, debating whether the lessons learned are worth the chaos unleashed. And Elias, wherever he is now, carries with him a quiet awareness that knowledge is both a gift and a burden, that human curiosity is a powerful force with consequences that cannot always be measured. In the end, the story of the hacker who leaked a nation's secrets is not about blame. It is about human fragility, about how a single act can illuminate the unseen structures of our world. It is about responsibility, yes, but also about wonder, fear, and the strange, unsettling beauty of a world connected in ways we can barely comprehend. We often think of technology as impersonal, as abstract, as something beyond human frailty. But Elias's story reminds us that it is built, maintained, and navigated by humans. And humans, for all our intelligence and skill, are not infallible. We stumble, we experiment, we explore, and sometimes we change the world. Accidentally, irrevocably, and forever. And as the sun rises again over quiet streets, as cities hum with life unaware of the events that once shook the foundations of nations, we are left with a question that lingers long after the files are closed and the headlines fade. In a world so fragile, in a world so connected, how many other Elias are out there unknowingly holding the keys to the future? Because knowledge is powerful, curiosity is human, and sometimes the most profound lessons come not from intention but from accident.